All right. Welcome to episode number 26 of the Jake Blanchard podcast. We're back after a little 2-week break. I've got lots of great guests coming over the next few months. Excited to share that with you. Before we get started today, I'd like to remind you that we're brought to you by the folks at Fellowship Brand Premium Men's Grooming Products. They've got a variety of oils, balms, waxes, and more for the hair on your face. Go to fellowshipbrand.com, enter the code JBP at checkout. First-time buyers get a free shipping. So go check them out. Fellowship Brand. All right, my guest today is Professor Keith, the Rhino Owen. To date, Professor Owen has promoted over 13 Gracie Jiu-Jitsu black belts under him in the U.S. and Canada, as well as numerous lower belt affiliates, both nationally and internationally. He's formerly worked in law enforcement as an Idaho Sheriff's deputy and as a handgun, shotgun, and submachine gun instructor for Front Sight Firearms Institute in Las Vegas, Nevada. Keith was previously a primary use of force instructor and ground control instructor to the police officers at the Idaho Police Academy and is credited with creating the ground control program for police officers in the state of Idaho. Mr. Owen is a published author, and we're going to get into that a little bit, and currently serves on the board of directors for the Pedro Sauer Jiu-Jitsu Association. He travels extensively, giving seminars all around the world. Professor Keith Owen, welcome to the podcast.
That book was a lot of work. I'm just going to tell you that, man.
I want to hear about that today for sure.
Yeah.
And for the folks listening in, as we get grounded here in the conversation, I train Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu under Professor Keith as well. And recently, I was awarded my purple belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, which I hold as a very high honor in my life. So nice to have you again, Professor.
You earned that.
For sure.
That was some work, bro.
I know it, man. 5 years. It's a grind, man.
Yeah, it is.
Hey, so I've been looking forward to this conversation since you and I were kicking around the idea of getting together and chatting. You have just such a storied history, a long career in martial arts, and specifically the last almost 30 years or so in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And I can't wait to talk a little bit about that journey, some advice, some experience, some things that you've got going there. But let's just get started.
Sure.
How did you get started in martial arts? Like, what interested you about it?
Well, when I was 7 years old, I saw a karate demonstration one time, and it was real hardcore, that hard style karate. And I took one look at that and went, whoa, man, I want to do that. But I was, we all have had a tough life, and a lot of us have grown up. I know you've had a tough life, and I grew up super poor. So my family was not affording any martial arts lessons. But when I saw it at 7 years old, I went, man, I got to get involved in that one day. And it was numerous years later. And I don't know if I should say this, but I'm going to. And I watched the movie The Karate Kid way back in the day. I don't know, that was 84, maybe something like that, a long time ago. And I went, and that just got me going again. Like, I want to go do martial arts. And I saw that movie and I said, man, I've got to go do that. And I started taking martial arts, I think a couple of days later, started taking like a Kempo martial art. And I wish I could say that I was on this long journey and I went up this mountain and I sat on the doorstep of the master and everything like that. No, I just started martial arts. And, it was a lot of fun. And I got a black belt, and then I went on and got another black belt. And then one day I discovered this grappling art, because I've always liked grappling. I mean, I've always thought that was fun back in the day. I just hated wrestling. I didn't want to do wrestling. So, cause getting pinned and stuff, that wasn't my goal. I watched pro wrestling, and I saw those guys kicking ass, and I wanted to be a pro wrestler at the time. And then the martial arts came along and kept on doing that. And then I found Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
So how old were you when you found Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu?
I was 24, I think it was, maybe 23. I don't know. 23, 24 years old. I was a young man. There was no Jiu-Jitsu in the United States at the time. There was no Jiu-Jitsu in the United States that was anywhere around. There was a couple places, and that was it. So if you lived in those couple places like California, the Gracie Academy, and then if you lived in New York, Henzo Gracie was teaching, and there might have been someone else, but there was nothing going on and nobody knew anything. And I was looking through Black Belt magazine. Have you ever seen Black Belt magazine? Right? You looking through it, and the Gracies were doing this Gracie challenge thing where they were fighting everybody. And I was like, whoa, I can't believe, you know, it was cool. You can't see the fighting or anything, but you just read about it. And then my buddy one day, like, hey, he had these Gracie action videos, and he said, hey, look at these, man. And we started looking at them, and I said, holy crud, man, I want to do this. And so I said, hey, if I was already a black, right? And I had a martial arts school too at the time. And I said, hey, if I start doing this, will you do it with me? And he said, yeah. And his name is Dean Hylam. And Dean went on to get a black belt in jiu-jitsu like I did too. And unfortunately, Dean died of cancer right after he got his black belt, but which was unfortunate, and that's sad. But at least he got a black belt in jiu-jitsu. And that's
Absolutely.
really, it's really how you lived your life, not your life was. You know, what did you put in that short time span? And Dean managed to put in a whole lot, including a black belt in jiu-jitsu from Master Sauer. So he helped me get into it, and I haven't looked back, man. I train all the time.
So
30 years now.
So for you, and you've got a policing background. So like, how did the world of martial arts cross the world of law enforcement for you? And did they feed one another, or like, what was your thought process around that?
Well, my dad and my uncle have been cops. And so my family was in law enforcement for a long time. And it was just a natural thing that I was going to go do law enforcement too. And I wanted to be a cop as well, man. Just something I don't know, in our lives that the Owen family is involved in. So I was fortunate enough to work for the Twin Falls County Sheriff's Department in beautiful Twin Falls, Idaho. And as I worked for them, you know, I knew martial arts, but I started getting into the jiu-jitsu, and then as time goes on, I was really the only one doing it. And so I was in law enforcement. Let me just say this. I was a reserve deputy with the Sheriff's Department. It wasn't my full-time job because I decided that I didn't want to do it full-time. But I spent 10 years on the department, and I did all kinds of stuff. I did all kinds of things. And then I was fortunate enough to be able to go to the police academy and start. I came up with the jiu-jitsu program, the ground control program for the Idaho Post Academy. I'm the one who wrote it and started it, and we got it off the ground, and it was an amazing thing. And then the police officers all over the state of Idaho started training it, and it saved lives, and it's been working.
Yeah. And
So,
you know, this is such a, you know, it's funny how things come full circle like this, but I mean, this is a topic that folks talk a lot about today, which is the training of police officers and their knowledge and ability to utilize, you know, proven methods and hand-to-hand combat in order to, you know, successfully and in some cases safely detain individuals. And I think that's really, jiu-jitsu lends itself so well to that concept. So, and I think I've seen a number of the Gracies, and you have a lot more depth than I do, talking a lot more about this today.
Yeah. When I started, it wasn't that as big of a deal. Now it's coming along, and even I would say 20 years now since I started the program, probably longer than that, but I'm going to say 20 years. Even 20 years from that point on, a lot of departments have not done any kind of ground control in their department. And so, Jake, what are you seeing, man? Well, you're seeing guys that are doing the best they can trying to arrest somebody, because if you don't want to get arrested, if I can't put you in handcuffs, Jake, what do I got to do? I got to force you, right? I mean, if you're not going to come along quietly, then I got to force you. And that is really, really difficult to get a resisting person in handcuffs and subdued. And so these guys are doing the best they can. And they're actually using what their department taught them. Lots of striking. I mean, you see the striking, you see the baton use, you see the taser, and this is all legitimate things that people could use. If I say you're under arrest, I have a right to seize your body. That's basically what it is. I am seizing you as a person, and I'm taking you to jail. And if I tell you you're under arrest as a police officer, no matter what the charge, I mean, it could be for anything. I could arrest you for anything, and you need to come along. Where you'll get out of the charges is going to court, right? And we get in front of a judge, and you make your case, and the judge says you had no right to arrest Jake Blanchard. What are you doing? And that's where things get worked out. But when an officer says, hey, you're coming along, you're under arrest right now, it is your duty as a citizen to give yourself up for that seizure, and you have to. What if you won't go? What does the officer have to do? And they've been relying on their tool belts a lot, like the taser and the pepper spray and the baton. And the problem is that they haven't been doing any groundwork. So if you could learn jujitsu, as you know, you do jujitsu, man, it'd be a lot easier to subdue somebody if you had some jujitsu background, right? And you get good. And in fact, the police officers that I've ever dealt with, they'll say, hey, yeah, I got into a fight the other day. And I go, well, what happened? And they're always like shaking their head. These are the guys that do jujitsu. It's like, nah, wasn't much going on. The guy couldn't really mount an attack, kind of pathetic, really, is basically how they frame that. And I'm saying, wow, man, pathetic arrests are fantastic, as opposed to the exciting ones where you have to beat a dude down. And then the average, I don't know what it is about society today. The average person doesn't know anything about police or arresting anybody or anything. Like, they have a right to tell you as a police officer, no, like, no, I'm not going. Right. And a court will never let that stand. You must go along if you're told you're under arrest. And if you don't, I feel like I'm circling around, but he's forced to arrest you. Well, if you have jujitsu, man, you could do it nicely, and you don't hurt yourself. Right. You don't hurt other officers, and you don't hurt that bad guy. And that's what makes jujitsu more valuable than ever today, because, as you know, I mean, you see that there is a hatred for police officers. And I hate to say that word because I love cops, but there's a lot of people that just dislike cops from what they see on TV. And police are awesome. I like police. I like them protecting my house and my neighborhood and my town. And if a police officer says you're under arrest, I'm putting my hands behind my back and we're going to jail. But
and I think we tend to focus on, there's certainly bad police officers out there.
Yeah,
there's folks who, but I don't think that that's the majority. And I think it's really difficult when we look at entire groups of people and we kind of demonize them for, things that some extreme cases or individuals either needed more training or more perspective, or maybe not that profession. And so it's a polarizing topic of the time. But as we're talking,
and this is why, Jake, we need body cameras too. I mean, you need to have a body camera as a police officer so you can video everything that's going on, because the truth will come out that way. When the body camera comes out, I mean, at least people have a visual idea of what's going on and why that guy didn't come along and what you did to subdue that guy. And police officers today need jujitsu more than ever, and they need to. We're way behind the times. So.
Yeah.
One of my students, his name is Ari Nazan. He created a jiu-jitsu for police officers. It's called Invictus. You can just look up Invictus police training.
I'll put a link in the podcast.
I can't remember exactly what they call it, but they're really focused on getting jiu-jitsu to every police officer. I'm going to go in the world today, So I commend him, and I'm super excited that I at least had a part in that as well. So
very cool.
Your life ripples through time, the future, you know what I'm saying? It just keeps on going when the things you do.
Absolutely. And hey, let's talk about that ripple. I mean, you've been in the jiu-jitsu game for a long time now. I mean, like you said, when you started, I believe you were telling me stories once, but you used to get into a car and drive to Salt Lake just to train and drive back from Idaho.
Yeah, it was 4 hours. And I'd stay there a couple of weeks at a time too, and just train all the time. So
that's incredible. And so, like, you've seen the explosion, the boom of jiu-jitsu. Yes. You've also seen the discipline change, the martial art change. Like, how has it changed in your eyes? And like, what is your perspective on the sport today versus maybe the way it was 20 years ago, or what's changed the most about your perspective around it?
Jake, jiu-jitsu sucked 20 years ago compared to today. It just did. It's like, and it's not anything to do with, because all I had were, the material that we had, right? And that was done over the years, and people focused and were like scientists trying to delve in this. And now we have so many more people. See, I'm getting excited right now. We have so many more people doing jiu-jitsu that new concepts are coming up all the time, and new things are coming up all the time. And it's mind exploding how good jiu-jitsu is now. And I'm super excited to see how the next 20 years of jiu-jitsu, has it blossom into the things that I don't like? Sometimes it does, you know, but I'm a self-defense instructor, but I'm also a sport jujitsu instructor too. And I think today, personally, I think me as a business owner, I want to teach self-defense. I mean, that's super important to me to be able to teach you self-defense. But at the same time, Jake, you've been to tournaments. You want to go to tournaments, right? And I need to be supportive of that. We need to do tournaments as well. They're not, I don't have to do self-defense or do tournament. I don't have to do either one. I do them both. And if you're a tournament guy, having self-defense in your school really gets, I mean, people come to your school because they want to learn self-defense, get them into that. But to answer your question, jiu-jitsu has totally improved in the last 20, 25 years. It's amazing. I'm loving it. This is the best. I tell everybody, this is the best time to be alive in jiu-jitsu right now, because we are learning so many new things. And you know, BJJ Fanatics is out there and they have all kinds of videos. There's all kinds of video streaming services that you can watch videos everywhere. YouTube, you can get the knowledge of jiu-jitsu if you really want it and then put it to use. And that's what's exciting about it. And I'm glad. I'm excited.
Well, speaking of BJJ Fanatics, last year, I believe you did you released a video under that BJJ Fanatics platform called Old School Side Control. Why?
Yeah.
Why?
I didn't name it though. I did not name that.
You didn't name that?
No.
I was going to ask about that because I never have.
No.
I've watched it and I love it. But like,
yes.
Tell me about.
There's nothing old school about me, dude. I'm like, I just told you, I like new jujitsu. Like I'm good. I like what works. And if it's brand new and it works, I want it. Right. So like they didn't even, I'm just being truthful. They didn't even ask me what to call it. All right. Yeah. I would have called it the Barca Lounger was what I was doing. Right. But I've been around for a long time and, you know, they've got to, you know, I've been around so long, and they do that with all the older dudes, the guys who've been around forever. They call it the old school. And I go, I'm calling bullshit on this, Jake. It's not, I'm not old. There's nothing old school about me, dude. I'll teach you some new school stuff that really works great.
You do all the time. You constantly drop those gold nuggets on my lap of you know, things that are new and interesting and different ways of looking at techniques. But I was going to say, man, that DVD is really it's got a lot of weight to it in side control. I think if anybody's trying to work on their side control game, it's one of my go-tos on refreshing for sure.
Well, I gave it up on that video too, man. If you will just pay attention to that, your side control game on top will get better if you do what I tell you to do in that video. Because I took it from your level, a purple belt kind of level, right? And even below that, you know, of how to fundamentally do these moves that will not get you crushed.
Yeah.
That will crush a person on the bottom, right? You'll keep that guy down. He will have a heck of a time, and then life is going to suck for him. And if you follow those, it'll be great. So that's why you should get the video. I mean, I don't make a lot of money on a lot of these things. There's not a lot of money in jiu-jitsu, but I just want to spread jiu-jitsu, man, to the world. That's my goal in life. And if I can make some bucks too, that's cool. I mean, you know, the mortgage company wants their money, man.
Yeah, for sure. Of course. Right.
Like, okay, I'll pay, you know, but so got to make some money, but it's way more than that, man. It's spreading jiu-jitsu to the world.
So, I mean, and we have new students come into the school all the time. I mean, you've been instructing jiu-jitsu for a long time. Like, what do people have wrong about jiu-jitsu? What's the most common misconception that you see, or like the perception that gets shifted along the way by your students who stay with it?
Well, and I cover this in my book a lot. I mean, I talk about this kind of stuff, but there is a huge difference just in my school compared to other schools. If you I want to take weak people and make them strong. And weak people, I mean, people with not a lot of body strength. That's what I'm talking about. If you're emotionally weak, can't do a lot with that. You're going to have to, get a little tougher, man. If you're emotionally strong, but physically weak, you're the student I want. Okay. That's seriously the kind of person that I want to have in my school. And what happens is we need to start you out slow so that you don't get injured, because white belts get injured all the time. And because they don't know what the hell they're doing, and they're getting, they're getting a knee injury or they're getting a shoulder injury. And then what happens? Their spouse, their significant other says, man, well, we can't afford this. Why are you doing this? And that's the beginning of the end. So my attitude is we want to take care of the brand new students when they come in, work their way up into getting good, Yeah, and before they don't even have to roll. So if you come in, I don't want you to roll. I don't want you to grapple the first day that you come in to class. I want you to work your way up into it. And if you'll do that, and if you'll just trust me, you will get good at grappling quickly and efficiently, especially with our curriculum. Again, a lot of schools don't have a curriculum, Jake. They just, you show up, they show a move. When the instructor sees that you're better, or I don't know, likes you more, I don't know, you clean his car out, I don't know, whatever, then they'll give you a new belt, right? You don't even, can you imagine Harvard doing that? You're like 4 years at Harvard, right? And the dean walks up to you. Well, Jacob, we've been watching you for the last 4 years, and I think we're going to give you your diploma. I mean, I think we're going to award you that because we've been seeing that you've been working. We don't need to test you or anything. We've just seen how you're doing. And here you go.
Yeah.
And you're like, no, there's things that you must accomplish at Harvard, Yale, and all these to get your degree, and to get it right. And that's what we want to do at our school. You have to go through our curriculum and show us that, because we have to carry on this lineage so that, and that you will fill in your game. You fill in all the holes in your game, and understand what to do. So I think that's one of the big differences in jiu-jitsu, at least from our school. You do, as a brand new person, you do not have to get hurt, or you do not have to get beat up on. We don't do that. Purple belt is where you get beat up on.
Well, for sure, especially when you get a purple belt and that target board on your back is a little bit bigger.
Yeah, it's big boy stuff now. The purple belt where you're at, that's quite an achievement, and that means you've made it into the club. Really, you're in the jiu-jitsu club now, right? You're ready to begin your training in a way. You've made it and understand the beginnings of it, and get better. And sometimes you get run over. Yeah.
Well, I'm anticipating a lot of that coming. But one of the other questions I wanted to ask you was, a lot of people say, and I've heard you say this as well, is like achieving black belt, like now you're ready to learn, right? I've heard that before. And so maybe reflect on the last, was it 12 years that you've been a black belt, maybe longer than that?
Yeah.
Like what has that been like? And what has that journey been like? And what can those kind of look forward to once they've achieved their black belt to start thinking about?
Well, I just got my 4th degree, I don't know, 4 or 5 months ago, something like that. And I swear to you, my knowledge has gone up since getting that piece of tape on my belt. Like all of a sudden it's like, oh, I'm much smarter now. I mean, when you get your black belt, right? Because you do all this stuff and you get your black belt, and you're ready to take your next step at black belt to really get down into the nuts and bolts of how jiu-jitsu works. And by the time you get your 4th degree, now I'm creating stuff and I can see it. And my instructor, Master Sauer, like he's 8th degree. And I swear to God, he just comes up with stuff right off the top of his head. He doesn't even, you might bring something weird and he doesn't know it, but he looks at it and goes, oh yeah, you do this. And I'm seeing that too now. I go, oh yeah, you do this. And I've never seen that, whatever the heck you're showing me or wanting, how do you get out of this? How do you get out of that? And it becomes, it's really where the exciting part happens when you get that black belt, man. I tell you, in life, you're growing as a person. All right. I mean, that's what it is. I don't care if you're owning a business, you're going to school, you're a family man, whatever. Your job is to grow as a human being. And jiu-jitsu is just more pronounced than jiu-jitsu, but it really shows you what kind of person you are and how, wow, you really sucked 10 years ago compared to how you are now. And you got to be able to handle that, because you go, wow, I just should have shut up 10 years ago and not said anything. Well, 10 years from now, I might look back and go, wow, Keith, you should have shut up back then. So when are you going to ever start? Right. And you just got to get into it, and you're going to grow into this. And, man, I'm starting to see jiu-jitsu a lot more. I can't say that I've got it down, but I really see things now, and possibilities. I'm coming up with brand new things all the time, little details all the time. It's awesome.
Love that. And in contrast, and if I can bug you to go back and let's talk a little bit about the book, From the Ground Up, the Jiu-Jitsu Survival Guide for Beginners.
Yeah.
And this is an information-rich book. Holy smokes. In prepping for this, I've been reading it over the last couple of weeks, again, to refresh on it. And man, you touch on just about everything that a beginning student
Try.
can go through. So tell me what was the process for writing the book, and who is it
Oh
written
God.
for, and like just maybe kind of lament a little bit on this process.
Well, my thought process is I'm going to do several books. One's going to be for that one that you have in your hand is for the beginners. We're going to go intermediate level, then we're going to go advanced level, and then I'm going to do one for teachers as well. So that was the original idea. Is I was going to do 4 of these books. The first one is, like I just said, my school is different from a lot of other schools. So when writing that book, I'm not necessarily talking about my school. And if you read some of that stuff and can't see anything in the school, thank you for that. That's very nice. I don't want some of the things that I write about in my school. I don't need lots of people getting hurt and things like that. But I wrote that so that brand new white belts and blue belts can read about how to navigate the problems that are all around in a jiu-jitsu school. I don't know if you know this, but there are some real big douchebags in the world. And sometimes they gravitate. Is this a family program? Can I say that?
No, man.
Am I
Hey,
in trouble now? Like,
no, it's your freedom of spirit, man. This is all about you.
okay, well, there are a lot of douchebags in the world who, some of them come to your jiu-jitsu school, right? And we have to be able to navigate around those people in the school, especially when we're doing something like grappling other people, right? I'm grappling with people that sometimes I don't know. I don't know what kind of person they are. And then they get good. How are they going to treat me? Am I being treated right? And I even talk about a whole political aspect of being in a jiu-jitsu school, right? One of the things that you've probably seen this lately is there was a white belt who put some information on the internet about how they tapped out a 2-stripe purple belt.
I was going to
Right?
get to micro adjustments,
Oh,
but let's dive in
yeah.
now. That was my
Oh,
last
geez.
question.
Okay. Well, we'll get back to micro adjustments, but you don't do that. You don't do that at school. You don't go bragging about who you tap, man, because
Yeah.
that guy could get better and break your arm, or choke you out, right? So we don't talk about who we tap out, and you just need to shut up. But you need to go, yeah, I'm getting better. But if you sit and brag about it, that's a political problem that you're not going to necessarily like, and they're not going to like you. And the whole idea of that book is, if you read it, how to do better in jiu-jitsu, not get injured, and how to have people like you more while you're in the jiu-jitsu school so you can have success. And that's what it's really written for, trying to make jiu-jitsu a better place.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's one of the, somebody who's not too far removed from being a white belt, but about 4 years ago is when I was promoted to blue. So I'm still pretty close to it. I remember watching like videos online, get your YouTube video, see something on an Instagram feed, and you're like, yeah, I'm going to bring that in the class. But like, there was no practice of it or breaking down. Like, you would just bring it to class and then try to do it on someone, and it would never work, or you would do it wrong, and you increase the probability of hurting somebody around you when you do it that way. And I find myself now like looking conceptually at things like maybe an interesting way to set up an arm bar. And
Yes.
like, I've got a grappling dummy at home, or like I'm watching the video over and over and over again and make sure I like take step by step, because if I come into class with it, I want to be able to do it and then articulately explain it to show others if they're interested, if I did it well.
Yes.
And I think that that's kind of the perspective too. And I think your book does a really good job of setting that expectation, because you don't really have that going in. You think jujitsu is one thing, but then as that point gets sharp, and the courtesy with your training partners, and the respect for the school, and the respect for techniques and others, those all start to build on each other. And this is kind of like a cheat code, essentially, to kind of level up at least your perspective faster.
Yeah. And I'm going to do another book for people like you, right? Maybe the more intermediate advanced level kind of guy. And then one for those brown belts, the dudes who, cause that's a whole monster of itself, being a brown belt. It's tough life being a brown belt. So kind of need to know that stuff. And then how to be a better instructor. And I'm literally trying to be a better instructor. Since you've been in the class, I'm literally trying to be a better instructor than when you first started to now. And everything, like, just for instance, I'm literally, if you will ask me, and I'm serious saying this to you, if you will ask me whatever you want to ask me about jiu-jitsu when we're in the class, I will break it down for you and make it individually specific. It used to be I gave you concepts, and concepts are cool because we can all appreciate that. But a lot of times you need the individual little moves on where to place your hands and everything perfectly, and go through an entire sequence of stuff to become better. And that's what I'm focusing on now, is I want everyone to be good at jujitsu. And some people are great at concepts, and some people need their hand held all the way through. And if you have me help you like that, it'll really, it'll take up your game all huge.
You know what I've noticed too, and maybe this is sharing a little inner school secret here,
Mm-hmm.
but you know which one of your students, and you can pick them out, are
Mm-hmm.
kinesthetic learners
Yes.
versus visual learners. And the difference is, I believe kinesthetic is somebody who actually has to learn by doing, right?
Yes.
They have to
Yes.
touch it, feel it. Whereas you
Mm-hmm.
have some visual learners and you have some people who need to explain it or whatever. But like
Yeah.
you've gone through and asked so many times, and you'll
Mm-hmm.
actually say, oh, where are my kinesthetic learners at? All right, take the time. This is a little more complicated. Take the time and go through this. Let me watch you do it. And you'll
Yeah.
line people up. And that's while you're still kind of demoing what's going on.
Yeah.
And I've just been so fascinated with that you've incorporated that in. So maybe take me through that process. Like, what did you see to bring that in like that?
Well, I'm a visual learner, so all I have to do is see it. I don't even have to go through it. I mean, I see you do it. I'll look at it. If I see it a couple times, I'll have it down, and then I'll go and do it. And that's just me. I don't have to hear it. And in fact, if you sit and talk to me and try to explain something to me, that's how bad the auditory learning is that I have to have you show me the move, and you'll see me, I'll say, hey, show me what you're talking about. And you'll try, and I can make it good there. Well, everybody has a different learning style, and there's not everybody's like me who is visual. And for a while, a good long time, I taught from a visual perspective. Well, I'm auditory, so I have two of the three, but yet, and then I thought that the kinesthetic process was, if you'll just go practice it, that's how kinesthetics is going to work. And that's not how kinesthetic learners learn. Kinesthetic learners and kinesthetic learners feel like they're outcasts. I mean, because they have to go hands-on and they actually feel it, right? Well, everybody has kinesthetic ability to some reason. That's why we practice it, right? We go over these moves. So the kinesthetic people need to feel it. So I need to so whatever sweep I'm doing, let's say I'm doing a sweep or a submission, right? They have to feel how it gets in and how it goes on, and the feeling of it. And when they understand that feeling of it, then I let them do it back. I swear to God, it'll take a good half an hour off your whole learning style if you just go through it, right? If you can feel me do it on you, and then you do it on me, I swear to God, that's a half hour taken out of your time. And that helps a kinesthetic learner, because they're looking and they're listening and they're still not getting it. And then the minute they feel it, they go, okay, I got it. And once the kinesthetic learner feels it, gets it, oh, he or she is good to go. And I very rarely have to say something else to them. Why? I've already felt it. I know how this is going to be, right? I know. I guess what I'm saying is I have a new profound respect for kinesthetic learning, right? And quite frankly, if you were to ask me what is the best learning style, I think kinesthetic learning is probably the best, because I see that once they get it down, they're off and running and they don't typically forget it, where a visual guy might forget something and an auditory guy needs you to explain it again. So,
Well, I can tell you personally that micro adjustment of your learning
nice.
style has benefited me as a kinesthetic learner,
Yeah.
right? Because I would share that same perspective where it's like, okay, I'm listening, and then I go back, and then that first thing you can always tell. It's the first thing is like you get there and like you'll get in someone's guard, and then you just start looking around.
Yeah, what did I do?
Like, what are we doing again?
Exactly.
Like, where does my hand go? Like, I totally
Yes.
forgot this. I was chasing butterflies, maybe ADD too. I mean,
well, it's just hard to jump from the visual auditory into your learning style. And a good teacher has to handle all three of those people. Yeah. And so that's why I say, hey, come over here, or I'll have someone do it so I can talk the way through for the rest of them, but you can feel it. And kinesthetic people make the best, I guess, ukes partners to demo. Because that way you're killing two birds with one stone. Actually, I'm demonstrating this on you so you can feel it, but I'm also showing everybody else this move as well too. So
absolutely.
So and I know you don't, but don't feel bad about your learning style, because it's the way you learn. And it took me a long time to realize that, and I'm a better instructor now because I understand that, and I'm sensitive to that.
I love it. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about micro adjustments.
Yes.
So you mentioned earlier there was an interesting post. It was a white belt post, and obviously I feel a lot for this individual because they have the blinders on, right? They're proud of themselves. They feel like they achieved something. They quote unquote sneakily took the back of a purple belt, made some critical micro adjustments, and submitted them.
And that's the word they use. Reluctantly submitted them. Micro adjustments.
Yeah, there's definitely some interesting words there. And it has in the jujitsu subculture, if you are on social media and you follow a handful of jujitsu accounts, you cannot get away from it. Is like the Bernie Sanders memes of jujitsu right now. It is absolutely nonstop. But I think that the challenge is micro adjustments is like a laughable word, but I don't know. It's kind of an important, like making adjustments is what jujitsu is. Making small adjustments is the difference in like skill level. A lot of times I don't know your perspective on it. I would just love to hear it.
Well, I love the term micro adjustments. Now I can't use it anymore because everybody will start laughing, right? You just say that for all of us. But when you get like at a purple belt, micro adjustments now are something that you're really going to have to focus on. What the hell is a micro adjustment? When your body, the positioning of your body, if you're like, just for instance, like I'm gonna use my hand here. If you're square on somebody like that, right? You're going to not be as heavy. The guy on the bottom is going to go, okay, yeah, I can handle this. But a micro adjustment would be if you just blade off just a little bit on this guy, right? And have just a little adjustment in the way your body angle is. Gravity will help you. And like you put it into his diaphragmatic area where all the breathing takes place, right? And you twist it a little bit. You go from being, okay, I can manage this to, oh dear God, I'm being crushed. And if we flip it around to the other side, the guy on the bottom, I'm trying to get my shoulder under there. The way you hold your shoulder, the way you hold your head, the way you hold your elbow, the way you put your leg, all of these little things need to be precision. And you will find that people can't get you. They can't do a lot of things because you're precise in all the ways that your body needs to be. You're precise. And the micro adjustment part is sometimes when he's moving, you just adjust a little bit and using your shoulders more. Your shoulders come up, your head comes down, whatever it is. I feel like I'm going into a seizure, right? But yes, I'm having a seizure on the bottom, escaping you by just the way I place my body instead of just laying there and letting you crush me, right? I'm fighting back, but I don't have to use a lot of energy and a lot of strength to be able to do this. All right. If you're using a lot of energy and a lot of strength, I hope you have a lot of it, because I mean, you only have so much money in your bank account. And when you spend all your money, Jake, you're going to have to get more, or you're going to have to make some cuts in the budget, right? Well, especially when you're grappling with somebody, you only have so much energy. And when you're exhausted and tired, you don't have a lot of energy to get into that bank account. So that's where placing your body perfectly and what this will allow you to do is allow you to grapple when you're an older person. I'm 51 years old. I am grappling fantastic, man. I don't use a lot of energy anymore because I have my body in the perfect alignment. I'm totally looking at that all the time, looking for perfection on the way your body aligned. Micro adjustments. And now it's corrected, Jake, and I use that.
Now it's ruined. It's so ruined.
My life is ruined.
I know.
But that's the secret to jiu-jitsu. It's a secret.
Yeah.
It's not a move. It's just the way you're like stopping him and just frustrating your opponent, right? And where he can't get anything, you hold your elbow just the right way with just the right amount of body torque where you're not like dying, and he can't get under your arm. And it's that little adjustment saves you from getting an arm bar put on you,
Yeah. And it's, I think, and I guess the point that I was trying to draw out with this is like, I think conceptually, I mean, that I know that I don't agree with the posting and the kind of all that stuff, but like, yeah, good on that person for like recognizing some of these like concepts, picking up the buzzwords, if you will, and kind of stringing them together in a post. Best to them if they can go and, recover from this as an individual.
No, and I'm going to tell you, Jake, he recovered from this because he started selling T-shirts, this white belt. He got so much, like, I don't know, I would say backlash, but notice, he got noticed so much that he started selling T-shirts, and people are buying them.
Hey, I tell you what, there's anybody who wants to, even if the subculture looks at it in a negative way, there's always going to be people that are counterculture to it that are be like, no, I'll buy a micro adjustment shirt. Yeah, why not? Like, just
Yeah,
because
they
it's
will.
funny or it's fun
Yes.
or it's something that's unique in the subculture. So thanks for entertaining that conversation as well. For
Man,
sure.
well, don't, you taps. I've been tapped out a lot by people too. So it tapping is not that big of a deal, but man, the white belts, oh, I gotta I, it's all about the tapping. No, it's not. It's about getting better, man. Just do it. Now, if you really want to brag, do it on a regular basis.
Yeah.
Okay. Tap that purple belt out. Like if you tap me one time, cool. I'll be like, that's cool. And you will be, I promise you. One day I'm teaching snakes to bite me here, man. So, I'm teaching bears, right? To tackle me. So my goal is to get you to submit me. Well, God, I get submitted, right? And you, the thing is, you've tried so hard for the years that when it finally does happen, it's like, yeah, well, I got to do this on a regular basis to really.
Yeah.
One time doesn't mean anything. One time's an accident. Dude could have been tired. The
Yeah.
purple belt could have been tired. Whatever. Who cares?
Hey, I tell you what, I wasn't respecting a white belt the other day.
Mm,
I caught an Americana and I
mm,
was playing lazy with my arms and all
yeah,
kinds of stuff. And I was
yeah,
just being a goon. Like
yeah,
I wasn't
yeah.
doing it right.
There
And,
was there
you
was
know,
something that wasn't quite aligned
yeah,
or adjusted microly, right?
yeah.
And you get caught, right? I don't give a
Lose
shit.
focus, you
I've
lose.
seen you get tapped a lot, dude, and I've been tapped, and we're just like see, that's another difference between our school and other schools is you can tap as much as you want. Don't
Yeah.
care if I don't care a lower belt taps a higher belt because you got to work on your stuff, right? There's going to come a time, especially in black belt, where you're working to get out of arm locks. So what do? You get yourself put in an arm lock. You work on getting put into a triangle. You got to get out. Well, sometimes you just get caught. You couldn't get out, right? Been there, and and so I give permission to tap. I have no problem with that because I tell you, man, pretty soon you're going to try to get tapped, dude, and you're going to go, oh, I'm going to give this white belt this, and you still get away. You didn't
Yeah.
even do anything, and you're still going to get away just because subconsciously, I think your mind doesn't want to get caught and you just totally sophisticatedly just stop that dude and you didn't even try. So that's what we're looking for. And
So,
I can't get you there if you don't tap.
and hey, I appreciate you again for carving out a bunch of time for me today. But
Yeah,
one of the last questions that I have here,
sure.
what are you excited about for 2021? Like, what do you
Oh,
have looking ahead? Like, what are you doing? Are you teaching seminars this year? You travel plans? Like, what are your thoughts around this? As maybe COVID's lightening up, or maybe if it doesn't, what have you been thinking about?
well, thank God 2020 was pretty okay for me. I did okay. School didn't get shut down, as you know, Jake. Thank God. It could have a lot of schools. And so I'm not sitting here bragging because other schools have had issues. And I'm just thankful that my school has made it through this pretty well. And thankfully, because of my students and who've been really cool. And, Jake, I was really down on people for a while there in 2020 until people just kept paying. I had to close the school down for 2 months, right? And people just kept paying. And they go, yeah, just keep charging me. And it was like, wow, you guys really saved us because our overhead's pretty big, man. And if we're not getting paid, that sucks, and that would have hurt. And they stepped up. So 2020 has been fantastic. And 2021 is getting even better. I have an association called the Team Rhino Association, and it's a self-defense association. And we're really starting to grow. I don't know, I spent about $15,000 getting new logos, new websites, just a whole bunch of things. So we're really attacking 2021.
Oh, wow.
I'm redoing all the curriculum, 4K.
There you go. A lot more video assets, all
My
kinds of.
son's helping me. So
Absolutely.
yeah, it's going to be really exciting. So I am updating Team Rhino this year. So 2021 is the year that I attack and
The
we're going to
year of the
rock. So
rhino.
we're going to probably move to a new location eventually this year
Oof.
too. So, I mean, it's exciting, dude. And
I
thank God we made it through 2020.
I love it. And where can folks find the school, find you on social media? Like where would people go to learn more about Professor Keith Owen and Team Rhino?
Well, you can look up teamrhinoidaho.com if you want to. We're Team Rhino in Meridian, Idaho, 68 East Fairview in Meridian. And if and even if you're visiting Boise, you should come and grapple with us and hang out because we really have a great respect for anybody who comes in. We don't want anyone hurt. A lot of cool guys, they're trying to tap you out, but not under any cost. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram. And again, my whole goal in anything that I put out, while making money is cool, I really like money, and my wife does too. I'm just trying to make jiu-jitsu better for the world, and I want to share that, and that's what our new website's going to be about too, with the affiliates, and going to do a lot more affiliation in 2021, and going to travel a lot. And I'm really busy with the Pedro Sauer Association. I'm now a board member of my Instructors Association. Huge honor for me, and I have got to. I got to perform, man, and, do well for him. So
Absolutely.
Just about making jiu-jitsu better, brother.
Well, Professor Keith, I want to, one, thank you for carving out some time to come on to the podcast today. Two, last 5 years, lots of instruction, a lot more to come. So I'm excited about that. And I appreciate you sharing your perspective and some insights about your book and the way that you approach this discipline that you and I share a love for. So
congratulations on your purple belt.
Hey,
it's fantastic. Everybody who did that test really rocked it, dude. You're fitting right in with all the other purple belts. All the purple belts are killers. They're killers. Just proud. Woo!
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. Hey, well, thanks for your time today, and take care, sir.
Thank you, Jake. See you.